All right, welcome everyone. Cellular Healing TV, episode 27. I'm the host of the show, Dr. David Osarno, I always call him, and I'm Phillips. And we have an amazing special guest today. I'll let Dr. Pompa do a formal introduction because their heartbeat is cellular healing, healing the cell to get people well. One of the most brilliant scientists and PhDs on this subject, Dr. Gary Samuelson. I can't even believe he came on the show today. We're so excited to have you. Dr. Pompa, do a formal introduction for this world changer.
Well, yes, thank you for being on, Dr. Samuelson. And he is an atomic medical physicist. And I said at the seminar, if you remember, it sounds like a rocket scientist to me that does things with medicine. But actually, you've been burying yourself in new research. I don't know, you could tell us for how many years, but your background is in nanotechnology, which led you into the subject of today, which is redox molecules. And every time I say to a patient or somebody, redox molecules, something contains redox molecules, I can tell I lose them with that word. So hopefully we can kind of break that down a little bit today and explain to our viewers why redox molecules can change their world, change their life, and why the older they get, the less they have, and why that's significant. So thank you for being on the show, Dr. Samuelson, and bring us the wisdom that you've gained over the years.
Thank you very much, Dr. Pompa. I'm also a fan of your work and the good that you're doing for the people out there.
Yeah, well, thank you. I do appreciate that. We try to take some of the things that you really, really smart people come up with and make it more simple and make it usable and bring it into the treatment world. One thing that I have said now for the last few years, there seems to be a large gap of what's happening in the research world and what's happening in the treatment world. I mean, in the area of redox, in the area of epigenetics, bacteria, there's some amazing things going on in research, and I love to read the studies, I do. But yet, I see this massive gap that there's doctors not doing this, and yet we have studies, showing this amazing technologies and how it can change health and cells, and yet who's doing it? Nobody. That's my goal, Doc, is to bring what guys like you are studying and bringing to the world into more of a treatment place and, really to the people. So speak about that as we even start because, there's some new stuff and it's exciting.
Thank you. Yeah, around the world there are about 5,000 articles being written every year on different medical technologies. It could just be game changers, could be disruptive technologies, and would give us the tools that we need in order to address some of the biggest issues we have out there in health. And they're not quite making it out to the people. And it's kind of a sad thing. I don't know, because the patent problems, getting them all sorted out, many other different issues that I have to deal with as a medical researcher. But some of these are just incredible technologies. Nanotechnologies, for example, that can go in and identify tumors and ablate tumors, get rid of them. And this new technology, this redox signaling technology, the one that I've been working with for the last 4 years or 5 years, that seems to have a fundamental, very promising action in the body, and it's kind of difficult to get it out there. So we had to, before, if I can tell you a little story about it, we tried to get it out there through the regular pharmaceutical track. They came and they said, well, if we're going to take it, we're going to distribute it, and you guys cannot distribute this technology. And that we told them, hey, but there are hundreds of people out there that are using this, and there are several that we're very concerned about that they need this technology. And they said, no, I'm sorry. If you want to deal with us, you got to play the game and cut off all distribution. We decided that we would not do that, so we started distributing this as a direct selling technique or direct selling product to get it out to the people that need it, to try to bridge that gap that you're talking about. You know, it had been tested over 16 years to be absolutely safe, absolutely zero toxicity. It's natural. These molecules are natively produced inside your body, and they can go. This liquid can go in your eyes, ears, nose, your mucosal membranes, everything. There's absolutely no toxicity to it, and yet it has such a dramatic effect on the signaling properties and the speed of healing and other things in the body, like the enhancement of antioxidants, etc., that are very beneficial in many cases to people who are undergoing challenges. So this is, I'm seeing firsthand now how this new technology is getting out, manifest right now by the fact that we're sitting here talking about it.
Yeah, you know, I mean, just to back up even a little bit, you know, Redox, you know, what is it? You know, I remember when I first started reading about it, you know, it obviously piqued my interest because of my study of the cell. You know, my saying is, if you don't fix the cell, you won't get well. And obviously we're on Cellular Healing TV here, so we believe strongly in the cell. But the more I read about it, the more I realized it was really involved. These redox molecules are involved in every pathway of the cell. I mean, every functional pathway of a cell. You know, so kind of explain that to people, because when I say, well, you know, how can one thing be involved in so many pathways, whether it's hormones, how hormones connect into your cell, or whether it's even the production of ATP in the cell, you know, energy that makes you feel good. So kind of explain that.
Well, these redox signaling molecules, as I call them, are the reactive oxygen species and other very reactive molecules that are produced by the mitochondria. And you have about 200 to 5,000 mitochondria in every cell in your body. And they're producing these on a large-scale basis. And before we used to think that these reactive oxygen species, which include free radicals and oxidants, have a damaging effect, and we would take antioxidants in order to try to get rid of them. But now, you know, in the last 10, 15 years, mostly in the last 10, we're starting to see these oxidants really have a fundamental role in the signaling of the system. When I'm talking about fundamental role, let's look at plants, for example. The photosynthetic process that's used in order to produce sugars is regulated by these molecules. When sun shines on a plant, it produces free radicals and superoxides, which produces hydrogen peroxide. This hydrogen peroxide interacts with the proteins. There are different thiols and things like thioredoxin inside of plants that change shape when they come in contact with hydrogen peroxide. This slows down the photosynthesis. So a plant in direct sunlight is able to respond and reduce its photosynthetic output, which is very important for a plant. Otherwise, it would burn out. For us, in our mitochondria, we have metabolism. Keeps us alive. Like you said, it produces ATP. It produces the energy we need to live. We also produce in that process these superoxides and hydrogen peroxide and other of these reactive oxygen species, which also prove to regulate our metabolism. I can't think of anything more important on a cellular level than the regulation of metabolism. It regulates everything in our cells, in all tissues of our body. For example, the production of insulin inside of our beta cells in the inside our pancreas produce insulin when there is an oxidative stress, which includes production of these reactive oxygen species. And so you just go on and on and on, and there are literally hundreds and hundreds of pathways in the body that are regulated and directed by the equilibrium or balance, the homeostatic balance of these oxidants and reductants inside of our body.
Yeah, so I mean, in simple terms, you know, we used to, when you make energy, you make some type of waste, right? If we burn a fire, we can make smoke, we make heat, we make, you know, good stuff, and then we make some bad stuff we have to get rid of. But in the cell, we used to think that what you talked about, this superoxide that is a byproduct, we thought it was just the smoke, right, of the fire, and it was something that we had to get rid of. It's funny because the body never wastes anything, does it? So now we've learned that not only this superoxide, now granted, Dr. Gary, if superoxide builds up too much, that can create some problems, right? I mean, so there's this balance of the cell, right? So we need superoxide. Matter of fact, what you're saying is, hey, we've learned that how much we need this superoxide, this byproduct of making ATP, making energy. And we used to thought it was just a bad thing, but now we realize it has all these roles, that we need it for, but yet too much of it's not good. How does this balance occur in the cell? Because what I see, Gary, and this is again coming from more of an actual treatment world, is that when people have an imbalance of this, they're sick. Meaning, they could go one way, they could go other. It seems like there's this imbalance of too much oxidation, perhaps too much reduction, or vice versa, or opposite. What keeps it all in this amazing balance? And talk a little bit about how the body even does that.
Wow, we really wish that we knew all the answers on that one.
Yeah.
This is where the cutting-edge research is how the body maintains a homeostatic balance and how it utilizes these signaling properties. You mentioned, smoke and fire. I like to make an analogy that's simpler to think about. If you're sitting inside your house and all of a sudden you smell smoke, what do? Well, you certainly don't sit down and open the sports section. You probably would run around the house to try to see what's wrong. And if it can't be fixed, you'd probably get out of the house and let the house burn down. The cells absolutely do the same thing. When these oxidants start building up, they'll stop everything they're doing normally and try to fix the problem. It'll push the genetic buttons and switches in order to be able to fix that problem. If it can't fix the problem, then it will kill itself. It'll do an apoptotic process, kill the cell, and then be replaced by healthy normal cells in the neighborhood. Now this is really important because if you get damaged cells, which really are, if you think about it, the key to every problem, every health problem that we have, getting rid of damaged cells, repairing or replacing them, absolutely important. It's actually healing on the cellular level, and this is taking place in every part in your body. So these redox signaling molecules, or the ROS, or the oxidants, serve as the key communicators. When the homeostatic balance gets out of whack inside the cell will do everything it possibly can do to put that balance back into play. And this is absolutely essential then for all of the processes that restore health in the body. One of the biggest examples for you guys would probably be the production of antioxidants. When a cell gets sick, it needs to protect itself against the oxidants. So it releases, as part of this process, NRF2, or NRF2, which goes into the nucleus and pushes the genetic buttons to produce more antioxidants and to protect itself. Now this NRF2 also helps open up the detoxification pathways in the gut to let out the toxins into our intestines, which is very important, let it out into the kidneys. NRF2 helps protect us in many ways all over the body from these toxic insults, as well as prime our body to heal itself. And so it's pushing the buttons of leading to healing and protection and defense against toxins and insults. And in the sense, it's letting these cells repair themselves, like you would try to repair your house if you had that sort of a thing, or take the cells down, kill them, kill the bad cells, and then replace them. Just think about it for a while, Dr. Pompa. What in the world else is there involved in healing?
Right. Yeah. I mean, basically what you've described, and, you know, some people think, oh, gosh, you know, just boring biochemistry here. But, you know, Doc, what you described is, hey, a pathway that if we could fix that pathway, we could just about fix anything, right? It's like it's the most fundamental pathway that the body uses to not only survive, but to be well and to feel well and to produce energy. You know, I know that, you know, just the importance of these redox molecules, a lot of people focus on, you know, a pathway like glutathione, which we do, right? Sometimes we're trying to raise an intracellular glutathione, meaning glutathione in the cell, glutathione throughout the body. But glutathione really doesn't work without redox, correct? Uh-oh.
I think he's going to shades.
Yeah, I think so.
Get here. Yeah, glutathione really relies on this redox process in order to be able to work. And so, yeah, you're right. But it relies on a balance, on this equilibrium. And we've seen in these cell cultures that if we put these redox signaling molecules in the cell culture, the production and efficacy of glutathione goes up. The efficacy actually goes up some 500% on the average. And so it really helps provide the reductants and the oxidants necessary for these molecules to work, the glutathione, superoxide dismutase, other antioxidants.
Yeah, yeah. So exactly. I mean, I guess the bottom line is this. I think right now, as you know, a society, we learned a lot about antioxidants. We got very excited, and everybody started overloading on antioxidants, and now we're realizing that there is another side, you know, to this. There's a balance. There's these redox molecules that really control this balance of we need oxidation. We need the fire in the cell, so to speak. We need it for signaling, you know, and there's this really amazing balance that has to take place. So, you know, again, I think you're right. I mean, obviously, we don't quite understand this amazing intelligence, this homeostasis, but we do know that redox molecules play an absolute amazing role in all these processes, in some role in that balance. The intelligence uses these molecules to activate things, to deactivate things. So am I right on that?
Oh yeah, it has so throughout the whole history of life on Earth and every form of life that exists. Plants use this as their primary signaling mechanism and defense mechanism and repair and replace mechanism. People, animals, every form of life on Earth. So, you know, you couldn't be more right in that regard.
Well, I mean, let's bring it down to a level, and you know, David, maybe you have some questions, or Warren, you know, let's bring it down to now a level. We talked about the science, you know. Maybe you and I are the only two people that got excited on this call, Dr. Samuelson. So now let's bring it down to people are saying
I couldn't be more excited because there's two things. Doctor, yeah, right. I just play one on Cellular Healing TV, just putting the disclaimer out there.
Yeah, exactly. I know. Yeah, but you don't count anymore. But we're talking about people who go, okay, great. What can this do for me?
Okay.
I mean,
there's two questions that I hear quite often, and hopefully you can address it. One is, what can this do for me? What does this do for me? And you actually mentioned something when you spoke at the conference about the number of metabolites that are shifted in the period of time. But then the second question is, how does this happen with when people look at the bottle, they say the ingredients, sodium chloride, you know, salt and water. So how does this happen? How's this created? And then what does this do for me, for the listeners?
Okay, well, we mentioned all these redox signaling molecules, and they're produced in mitochondria. The mitochondria have certain physical, chemical processes and catalytic processes that uses. We use the same process outside the body in order to be able to take the saltwater solution, oxidize it, and reduce it. That's where redox comes from, by the way, R-E-D-O-X. And in order to be able to form these compounds, these ROS compounds, as well as the reductive compounds, in a stable complex in a stable form that can be taken or drunk or placed in the body or whatever. So what happens, I guess, that would cause me to think, well, maybe I ought to think about this or consider this as part of my regime, my health regime, is that during the process of life, the mitochondria slow down. They become damaged. In fact, since they're the fireplaces of the cell, so to speak, and produce most of the smoke that we're talking about, they become damaged and don't produce as many of these signaling molecules as is necessary then to maintain quick response for healing, for the immune system, etc. Well, now we're starting to get into some pretty important stuff: healing, immune response. So if we were able to replace the molecules in our body, these redox signaling molecules that cause our body to be more efficient to heal itself, well, that's a pretty big deal. You know, at the very beginning, I thought, well, it wouldn't work. I don't think it'll work because they're just too reactive. And I'll tell this story. I tell it all the time. My wife's cutting vegetables, and she cut her finger. It started to bleed, and I thought, oh, okay, haha. Now I get to see firsthand what will actually happen. I poured a little into a cup and said, honey, would you stick your finger in there? And she stuck her finger in, and the bleeding stopped immediately. It was bleeding quite profusely. It was like a 4-millimeter cut in depth. It was quite deep, and stopped immediately. The pain went away, and I saw healing take place in seconds that normally takes minutes. It usually takes minutes for the body to detect the damage and start the healing process. It started immediately. In a couple of hours, it completely had healed over and closed, and in a day I couldn't even see it. So the thing is, you know, I saw before my very eyes this accelerated healing program that the body is capable of doing, and it impressed the heck out of me. And I said, you know, this is a significant technology. Just imagine the lives that we could save if we were able to make this available to people. That was kind of my dream now at this point, to do that. But it works internally too. So suppose you have a health challenge of some sort that involves a damaged cell. Now, let's see, which one of those could I mention? You know, there are a few of them that involve damaged cells. Imagine if the body was then enabled to take care of that more efficiently, meaning repairing and replacing the damage more efficiently. What could that mean? And so you start seeing the possibilities. Some of the things we weren't expecting is the athletes use this now for recovery, and they do a fantastic job, you know, in recovering from marathons and Ironmen and all sorts of very damaging types of activities for your body. They do great things, and so we're seeing evidence of this along with the antioxidant efficacy increases all over the place in all of our studies and everywhere that we look, also in anecdotal evidence. So it's pretty remarkable.
Yeah, you know, Doug, that was one of the things that interests me. You know, when I tell my clients that, well, this is a product that I take, and they always say, well, why do you take it? You know, I mean, meaning that I thought, you know, it was just for people who are sick, you know. It's like, no, actually, one of the things that initially interested me in the product was the research done on athletes and how it raises VO2 max. Simply put, you can get the cell to produce more oxygen. You can get the body to function, you know, at a much higher level, process oxygen much better, much higher, and that's why the athletes take it. And you know, as soon as I started taking it, I noticed a massive difference. And of course, you know, always the science in me wants to say, well, let me stop taking it. Let me take it. Let me not take it. And literally, I could tell a difference whether I took it or not. And here, you know, my son, who often forgets to take it, my 16-year-old, I'm telling you, every time he takes it, before he goes to the gym, he says, "Gosh, every time I take this, I can get out a few more reps. It seems like I just feel such a difference." Absolutely. You don't build up as much lactic acid. So, and I'm sure the old man feels the benefits even more than the young man. But even the fact that the young man feels it. I mean, the older we get, the more you said it. There that our cells produce less and less of these redox molecules, and so the more it can benefit us. And they even have, you mentioned about putting it on the outside. There's redox molecules in actually a topical solution, and the company you've worked closely with, that was your latest project, correct? I mean, you developed and stabilized the oral product, which really they started, I think, doing IV with it at first, and then you worked on now this outer product for the skin.
Okay, yeah, the oral product you can't use for IV, just to clarify that.
No, okay, wasn't originally. No, I'm saying that's where originally they were used before you were able to stabilize.
I got you. Just to clarify, we can't use it. Of course, we don't have a product like that. But the oral product, it was so effective on the inside, but it isn't as wow or dramatic. Because on the inside, healing, you don't feel it. You might feel it if you're doing athletic type of activity. Hey, but what we did is we tried to find something that was compatible with this stuff, because it breaks down so easily. It has reactive oxygen in there, and it'll break down very easily in the bottle if we're not careful. So our manufacturing techniques and et cetera have to be almost top of the line in order to be able to do this. But the gel that we have, we finally found a kind of a gel. It's a clay derivative that will hold the liquid without denaturing it. And so we now have this gel carrier, and we put it in a gel carrier, and you can put it on your body and on your face, and we saw reduction in wrinkles, reduction in blotching, reduction in all of these things, and increase in elasticity, which is amazing for me, because that means the skin cells are producing more elastins, more collagen, and things like that. Damaged skin and damaged skin cells are very obvious. And using the gel then is a way to show people demonstrably that it's working. And so now they're using this gel. Almost everybody is flooding out pictures before and after of how their skin health is increasing, and how their appearances are getting better, etc. And so.
It is neat. Your skin's an organ, and we take, I've seen absolute miracles with people taking this product orally, and how just the shifts that occur at the cellular level, and then therefore their health with autoimmune and so many different, conditions. But the skin is an outer organ, like you said, and people start using it. Now they're seeing what's been happening on the inside. I had these, age spots, these dark-colored spots that appeared over the last few years, as I quickly approached 50, which will be next year. And within the first month or two, as some took longer than others, they disappeared. Yeah, so I closely watched it. That was my, little thing that, let me see what this stuff does. And yeah, it made an absolute amazing difference. So I had some sun-damaged spots, like just some, areas on my arms. Just absolutely changed it. So it's neat to watch redox happen on the outside. That's the outer reflection of what's happening on the inside also.
Well, the amazing thing that I've seen with this is, imagine if the studies, and Dr. Gary, you can confirm it, it has a wrinkle reduction and all these other things that you talked about of 20% or more in less than 28 days. And if we start looking at it and say, wow, our skin, which has been getting older and older and aging, and we can sort of see right in front of our face a before and after photo in such a short period of time, just imagine what it does on the inside of the body.
Well, you know what, David? That's the thing. People think, well, what's in this product? And I'm like, no, no, no. You have to understand this is the same technology. You're just seeing it here, what's happening on the inside. This is redox molecules. All it is just, like you said, a gel that stabilizes it. You know, and then you have the redox molecules, you know, in the liquid. And arguably, it does taste like pool water. I always have to assure people it's not. That is the sodium chloride. There's no chlorine. There's a difference of chloride, chlorine. But anyway, so I've had many emails saying, I'm drinking chlorine. Is this good for me? So
I always try to explain it to people because I have a PChem, master's level PChem background, and I try to, oh, it's the carrier solution. Well, you have to have a certain salinity and temperature and pressure to stabilize molecules inside and they just shut down. But I don't know the easiest way to explain that. You know, it's the carrier solution that keeps what's being delivered to the cell stable. I mean, I don't know how else to say it to them. And I wanted to show you guys. Here's the water, for the oral, and then here's the skin external product as well. You can spray this on your face and stuff, but Dr. Samuelson, when you develop this, it absorbs better in the skin than even the spray, I imagine. And I wanted to ask you this. I haven't been taking it for a week. I've been busy and just kind of like Dr. Pompa's son, just not taking it. And I noticed my restless leg coming back. So I'm like, immediately I thought, I forgot that it went away, of course, because I didn't do a symptom questionnaire before and after. And I took a bottle or two over just a packet over the last couple of days, and now it's gone again. I always wondered why that would be. I mean, obviously, you know, restless leg has a lot to do with methylation and things like that. So it was an interesting find as well.
Yeah, things that are genetic or that you're susceptible to. If you increase the efficiency of these cell responses, the cells then start their. Even though it's a genetic, let's say for example it's a deficiency in glutathione that you have, and this stuff then increases the efficacy of the glutathione that you have. Even if it's a genetic deficiency, you can actually make some progress on it, you know. Or if it's a susceptibility due to other things that are happening in your body, it kind of helps the cells to be able to repair and replace themselves more efficiently. And you stop taking it, well, you lose that efficiency. So you know your body, if you're susceptible or you have a genetic thing, will just return to its normal state. And so, you know, in many cases, or especially in genetic cases, it's important that you keep on taking it in order to be able to maintain the same efficacy that you need in order to get over it.
I'm back on the wagon, that's for sure. There's no doubt about it.
What you just, you know, talked a little bit about there, you know, epigenetics, where we can turn genes on and off. We realize that so many symptoms or things that our bodies are expressing, whether it's good health or bad health. I always say that we're all on this call right now expressing from our DNA good things and bad things. You know, I know just from the use of the product that it has a major effect on changing that gene expression. You know, there's these little switches in the cell that we know, you know, Warren talked about methylation. You know, redox plays a role with methylation. And therefore it plays a role in turning off those genes, turning on good genes, turning off bad genes. I've watched it. I've watched it clinically happen when people come on and off the product. And those quick changes that occur can only be explained with epigenetics or genes being turned on and off.
Yeah, that's. I went to a conference this past weekend, and there were 3 PhDs in redox biochemistry there. We sat down and we had a little bit of fun. We found, or they were teaching me actually what was happening inside with this product. I'm now hooking up with some pretty cool guys, and it's exactly what you say. The switches inside your body, the ones that, for example, release this NRF2, are very important in these pathways.
Yeah.
So for example, you have inflammation in the gut. It turns off some of these pathways. You can use this to turn them back on and get the toxicity going out of your gut, which is one of the biggest pathways for toxicity, for toxic elements to leave you, and it also takes the burden off of your kidneys. And you can switch on some of these pathways that you said that enable the mitochondria and the metabolism to be more efficient. And we've seen that in our human clinical trials, these metabolites. We looked at 260 some metabolites. People that took ASEA had shifts of over 60 of these metabolites, and mostly toward more efficient energy utilization. But we saw clinically that these switches are being turned on when you use ASEA. Now, there's so many of them that it's impossible to know exactly, to be able to say anything about, the exact pathways from the studies we've run. So we're going to have to be a lot more specific on which switches we're turning on and not. But it seems like they're the same switches that you would turn on if you were to exercise. So when you exercise, you create these reactive oxygen species in your body, ROS. I just wanted to mention another researcher that is kind of getting on this horse now. His name's James Watson. He's the co-discoverer of the helical structure of DNA. He now says that the most important research that he's doing is reactive oxygen species, is the signaling process, is redox medicine, as they call it now. And he says that he uses exercise to turn on these genes. Well, here we have, not everyone can run 3 hours on a treadmill in order to do so. Right. So now we have a substance that is able to turn on these switches without having to, have extensive exercise.
But, Dr. Gary, what you just said is really important because, see, in my world, clinically, most of the people that are clients of mine, they cannot exercise because their cellular energy is so weak, it leaves them exhausted, right? That was me at one point. I couldn't exercise. I went from, an expert cyclist who could, get on my bike and pedal 100 miles like it's nothing to where I couldn't take a walk down the street without being left exhausted, and my insomnia would become worse because of the overreaction from my adrenals because of my lack of cellular energy. Therefore, it was using cortisol and adrenaline to try to adapt to the massive drop. Our number 3 is restoring cellular energy. And when we give, what I've seen is when I give these clients ASEA, they get an absolute amazing effect. And one thing I say about in my 5 R's is our number 3 is oftentimes the first thing that I have to do to get everything else to work. Meaning that if their cellular energy seems to be so low, if we can just get some activation there, now it seems like everything else is working. So that production of ATP is the production of redox molecules. So it's been really amazing for me to watch when we add ASEA. It is adding that spark, that fire, that now it seems like now all of a sudden their methylation, things I'm giving them over here, are now able to work again, just like the exercise would do. Exercise makes everything work a little better, producing more redox molecules during that process, more cellular energy. We can get the same thing accomplished with the ASEA in those who can't produce that type of energy.
Yeah, good.
Great. Yeah, clinically, it's neat when you hear that. When you hear that, and then you pull it back into the clinical world and say, yeah, that applies absolutely clinically as well.
I have a question, Dr. Gary. Oftentimes, people say, "Well, how do I know?" And I say, I say, take the ASEA 90-day challenge, because if people take it every single day for 90 days. Now, I do know that you experience a metabolite shift. You experience things in your body almost immediately that people don't feel. Why is in my mind 90 days is a good number for people to I haven't had anyone who's told me that they haven't felt something within 90 days. Either they're going to feel a positive reaction or they may get a little bit of a detox symptom, but everything's good because we at least know that it's working. What do you think about that 90-day number as far as people trying it?
Yeah, we have about 100,000 people out there. I have my thumb on a few of them. I really enjoy this work, by the way. I'm affecting more lives than I possibly could affect if I were into medical research in almost any other field. So we get to hear the stories come back, and it seems like after 30 days, maybe 30 or 40% of them have felt something or has seen a difference. In about 60 days, 60%, and about 90 days, 90%. It's easy to remember. But it seems like after 90 days, almost 90% of the people have had some very positive experiences. First couple of days that you take it, or maybe even up to a week, you might get this detoxification thing going on. This is a normal thing that happens when we start to unblock these pathways, these detox pathways, especially in the gut. So the athletes that were in our human clinical trials, they'd come back to me and they'd say, "You will not believe what's coming out of me." And then some of the people that have been in the military and have had also some challenges due to toxicity have had really smelly sweat and gray stuff coming out of their sweat and other things happening that start to indicate that the body's starting to open up these channels, these detox channels and pathways. So very important to getting the body clean. Well, the first week, all of that stuff is dumping out, and you can't expect it to happen immediately. So you might get some detox symptoms, and then after that, if you drink a lot of water, you also need to be able to hydrate and have good nutrition when you're doing this, because like I said, it's kind of popping the body up to the level that you would if you exercise. Well, you need good nutrition, hydration when you exercise. When you start taking ASEA, the same thing. It washes out the toxins, helps it wash out the toxins, and also helps the body to have the strength and the nutrients that it needs along with this to put things back in shape, in order. So, I don't know if that helps at all, but that's kind of what I've seen out there in the field.
Yeah, I've had severe autoimmune clients of mine just with literally drops of ASEA start detoxing. And they have to literally work their way up to full droppers, to ounce, 1 ounce, 2 ounce, 3, and work their way up that ladder. Matter of fact, I would say most of the clients, that I see, that's the case. They literally have to work their way up because, again, they're very, very toxic, sick people. And when you get that cell working and open up those pathways at the cellular level, at the gut, you're going to absolutely create some type of reaction. But listen, Dr. Gary, I love a product that, no matter what, someone feels something. And one of the things I always say is if you're not feeling something on ASEA, just keep taking it. One way or another, you're going to feel something. You're like, wow, my brain works, my brain fog's gone, I feel more energy. Or, oh my gosh, I have a headache and loose stools, what's going on, right? And the nice thing about it, because it's a liquid, you can always find a dose that works for somebody. You can just back up to where you don't have the symptom, in 3 days, push forward again and see what your body does, and eventually we're always able to raise people up. And then there's those folks that just seem like they can take it, and it seems like it's not doing anything. Explain that. I mean, it's meaning that they need a lot more. It's not until we hit 8, even 10, and I've had some people even 12 ounces, and then bam, everything changes. Explain that.
Well, everybody has a different homeostatic balance inside them. You look at your hormones, for example, you need different levels of hormones inside each individual. You look at anything that's kept in balance by the body, and it keeps everything in relative balance, but not everybody's the same. It's the same for these redox signaling carriers. Some people have a heck of a lot, and the body's used to it. So in order to get over that hump, you have to give it a lot more. You have to kind of push it. So what I suggest is you take what I call a spike, You know, take 8 ounces twice a day, 10 ounces twice a day, and see if that kind of puts you over the hump, and you start seeing something happen. You know, I don't know if you have to keep up with that same level, you know, forever. But if you give it a spike, at least you can see where, you know, where the threshold is.
Yeah, that's what I do. That's what I have people do, is try to find that threshold. And then, like you said, I mean, it's not like they have to stay at that level. I may keep them at a high level for a month or two, and then we just start backing down. Their body, after that, seems to tell them what level they seem to function best at. You know, and again, it just seems like at certain levels, all the other, you know, treatments that this person is doing seems to work, you know, if they keep the redox at a certain level. So again, it's all about that cellular energy, I'm sure, you know, and really, you know, allowing these other pathways to function, you know. So therefore, people are always saying, gosh, you know, I'm doing a lot of things, it seems like nothing's really working. Yeah, you're probably lacking redox. So there with that balance in the cell. Well, Dr. Gary, I know you have to go, and we are so grateful that you took time out for us and our listeners at Cellular Healing, because they know this is our passion. How do we talk about cellular healing without talking about the research that you've, you know, just poured yourself into, and, you know, for most of your life, and just lately the redox. So thank you for all your research. You know, we would not be here if it wasn't for some of the research and discoveries that you have made. So we are so grateful for that. And I'll tell you, I have hundreds of clients out there that would love to thank you because of the difference that this one thing made in their life. So thank you so much for that. And I thank you for them as well.
Thank you for helping my dream come true.
Absolutely.
You can see it in your eyes. You're so blessed and happy that you could do this for others. It's all over your face, you know, and you're like a giddy schoolboy all the time when you talk about this stuff. And I know true world changers and scientists that have been gifted something that you have, that you get to share that gift with the world in something like this. It is world changing. I appreciate it. David, you have a little thing on your, speaking of people, you know, wanting to try this product and
Yes.
get to know Dr. Samuelson more, you know, through some of his, he's done a lot of recordings and things. Is this Redox on your website?
Yeah, right under my name. I just changed it. A link, www.redox180.com. Redox, R-E-D-O-X 180.com. They can get some more information about this amazing product that you graciously have taken your time to talk about redox signaling molecules and really peeling back the layers in a deep level, and then making it accessible for everyone. So thank you so much for today. This has been absolutely amazing, and we're honored to hear from you and have you share this with all of our listeners.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Gary. We'll let you guys go. Cellular Healing episode 27, another world-changing show. Heal the cell, get well, restore your life, share this message with the world. Cellular Healing TV, cellularhealing.tv. Take care, guys. God bless.
Bye-bye.